Hello, this is Eastern Europe Review, a joint production of BELSAT and TVP World, with the reports and analysis from Ukraine, Belarus and Russia. My name is Alexandra Shapalina, and these are the main stories.
Such big and complicated stories happen rarely. This happened to us in July of this year.
Scandal in the Russian opposition. Leonid Navalny is allegedly behind the attacks on members of Alexei Navalny's anti-corruption foundation.
They wanted to make a pork chop out of me.
Georgia is becoming increasingly unpredictable for those who have sought refuge there after political repression in Belarus and Russia.
The Georgians have torn our family apart.
The rescue operation for Ukrainians living in cities under attack by the Russian army.
There's a cannonade every minute today. It sounds like artillery.
Scandal in the Russian opposition. The anti-corruption foundation of Alexei Navalny has released an investigation into who ordered the attack on Navalny's associates, Leonid Volkov and Ivan Zhdanov. The politician's team claims that the person behind this is Leonid Navalny, a former oligarch and close friend of Mikhail Khodorkovsky.
Such big and complicated stories happen rarely. This happened to us in July of this year.
The Anti-Corruption Foundation released a high-profile investigation that has caused a scandal within the opposition. To the surprise of viewers, the focus of the episode was not another Russian official, but rather an insider, Mikhail Khodorkovsky's associate, Leonid Navalny. The investigators claim that he ordered the attack on Russian opposition politician Leonid Volkov. Last spring in Vilnius, unknown men broke the window of Volkov's car, sprayed gas and hit him several times with a hammer.
They wanted to make a pork chop out of me. Literally, a man attacked me with a meat mallet in the yard of my house, hitting me in the leg about 15 times. For some reason, my leg remained intact.
According to the Anti-Corruption Foundation, the attack on Volkov was organized and paid for by Navalny. Additionally, he allegedly ordered a reprisal against the foundation's director, Ivan Zhdanov. The investigation is based on the testimony of Andrei Matus, whom Navalny's associates refer to as Fixer, with ties to the Russian FSB. Matus himself contacted journalists and described in detail how Navalny ordered the beatings of opposition figures. He also provided screenshots of correspondence and audio recordings as evidence.
Когда вот это произошла история с молотками, мне было сказано то, что прошла утечка, ушли телефоны, люди начали шантажировать. Надо решить вопрос. Я с ними вопрос решил, телефоны я все забрал, они все находятся у меня. А потом господин Наvalny решил заказать и меня.
Leonid Navalny is a former co-owner of the company Yukos. After Khodorkovsky's arrest, he emigrated to Israel. A Russian court sentenced him in absentia to life imprisonment on charges of organizing murders. He has been an active supporter of Ukraine since Russia's full-scale invasion. Navalny denies the accusations of organizing the attack on Volkov.
Firstly, I have nothing to do with any attacks on people in any form. Secondly, I don't see much point in discussing the details of this leak concocted in Moscow.
Many public figures have spoken out in defense of Navalny, with some questioning the source of the information.
Building an investigation, especially one designed for wide public attention, on the basis of FSB materials, is quite dangerous.
The Anti-Corruption Foundation did not conduct the investigation alone. They enlisted 2 teams of investigative journalists to carry out their own inquiries and shared all the data they had received from their source. This data was verified by highly reputable journalists who reached the same conclusion. Navalny was the organizer of the attacks on Navalny's team.
I've been researching hacked correspondence for 10 years. In my experience, I've encountered both real and fake correspondence. Never in the history of my work has anyone managed to forge correspondence on this scale. It's absolutely impossible. It's as if a chimpanzee accidentally typed War and Peace.
Nevzlin has verbally attacked the Anti-Corruption Foundation multiple times at public events. In the investigation, one of its authors, Maria Pevchik, suggests that his motive was likely driven by ordinary, inexplicable hatred. Pevchik also stated that Nevzlin had repeatedly attempted to offer his patronage to her personally after Alexei Navalny's death in prison.
And still, I don't understand why a sweet, pleasant girl, in my opinion, didn't take advantage of the opportunity to have me as a mentor, friend, and partner in the fight against evil, choosing instead to stay on the other side of me and my capabilities.
Nevzlin claims that he filed a complaint with the Prosecutor General's Office of Lithuania in response to the Anti-Corruption Foundation's investigation. This was confirmed by the department, but no further details were provided.
On 16th of September, a Belarusian journalist and his daughter were returning to Batumi, where they had lived since 2021, but the family was not allowed to leave the airport. The man and his child were deported from the country they thought was their home. How do Georgian authorities view Belarusians, and how does this stance depend on the political situation in the country?
Belarusian journalist Andrei Meleshka was unable to return home to Georgia, where he had lived with his family since 2021, on September the 16th. As he and his daughter were returning from a 2-week vacation, they were detained at passport control at Kutaisi Airport and taken to a separate room. The Belarusians were held there for 20 hours.
An airport employee approached us and asked if we had Polish visas. I replied, yes, we have Polish visas. The employee then said, well, then you'll fly to Poland. I asked, are you sure we won't be sent anywhere else? When we saw the Belavia plane circling the airport, we suspected we might be put on a flight to Belarus. I demanded several times to apply for international protection in Georgia, but my requests were simply ignored.
Andrei Meleshka was forced to leave Belarus after the mass protests of 2020 due to persecution. If he were to return, he would most likely be detained. Since 2021, the journalist has taken advantage of the opportunity to legally stay in Georgia for 1 year, then reset by briefly leaving the country before returning for another year. This time, however, he was denied entry into Georgia.
I won't say that Georgia became my second home, but I was comfortable there because I've got friends, a job, a wife, and children who go to school there. I saw them every day. I miss my wife and youngest daughter now. My oldest is with me. The Georgians have torn our family apart.
Andrei's young daughter was also denied entry into Georgia. After arriving in Poland, they traveled to Białystok, where Andrei had friends.
My daughter's very worried because she doesn't know how long she'll have to wait for her mother, where she'll study, or how we'll manage here. She cried a lot when she learned she might not see her mother for the next few months.
Human rights defender Roman Kislyak believes that Andrei Meleshka's case at the Georgian airport qualifies as an enforced disappearance, where a person is detained and their whereabouts are concealed. The journalist was still at the airport when his relatives were informed that his plane had already departed.
There was a plane to Belarus scheduled next to the flight to Warsaw, and when they announced that Andrei had taken off, but the plane to Warsaw hadn't departed, hundreds of Belarusians got nervous. You could see that in the local chats. Everyone was in shock.
In August, Roman Kislyak, who has been living in Georgia since 2021, was denied refugee status, reportedly due to concerns over state security.
Georgia has not granted any Belarusian political asylum or international protection over the past 4 years, despite numerous attempts to seek it. The latest refusals cited reasons that could warrant protection, but they invoked the Article on National Security, which can essentially be applied to any case.
Roman Kislyak decided to challenge the decision of the Migration Department of the Georgian Ministry of Internal Affairs through legal means and is attempting to appeal it in the Tbilisi court. This treatment of Belarusians in Georgia appears to be a political decision.
I suspect they don't want to anger Lukashenko. Granting political asylum would be seen as a statement of support for someone who has escaped from the regime.
The legal status of Belarusians in Georgia could change with the upcoming parliamentary elections. If the opposition wins, Belarusians may be granted political asylum in the country. For now, however, Belarusians in Georgia must remain aware that they could leave their Georgian homes and never be allowed to return.
The Russian army continues to attack and advance in the Donetsk region, where the front has moved closer to several cities and towns, including Pokrovsk and Mirnograd, home to tens of thousands of residents. Now, these settlements are under daily attacks from Russian artillery and drones. In these conditions, a special unit of the Ukrainian police is focused on rescuing civilians.
A bus equipped with an armored capsule is being used to evacuate civilians from an active combat zone. It is currently driving through Mirnograd, a city located about 8 kilometers from the front line and subjected to daily shelling.
Today we have an evacuation planned in the city of Mirnograd in the Shakhty district. We'll be picking up an elderly man from there. We recently evacuated his wife, but he had categorically refused to leave. However, yesterday he called and said, "Take me away from here. I can't bear it anymore." A house is burning down. And look at that crater. Wow.
Unexploded FPV drones from the Russian army are visible on the ground. At one point, we notice a larger drone hovering above our car. Fortunately, it turns out to be a friendly one, and the car continues on its way.
We've got a gun like this for these situations. It shoots accurately and has saved us more than once.
The police are escorting the man to get him away. While this is happening, explosions can be heard in the background, with shells occasionally whistling overhead.
There's a cannonade every minute today. It sounds like artillery. The whoosh of a shell flying by, followed by an explosion. It's definitely artillery. It's been ongoing since this morning. Last night there was also heavy shelling.
The pensioner and his belongings are loaded into a car inside an armored capsule. The man seems reluctant to talk and remains mostly silent. However, at one point he quietly says that he wasn't able to endure the constant shelling anymore.
And last night, my heart just sank.
Soon the car will head to a new address.
We've now received information about evacuating another woman in Mirnograd, and we'll be going to get her as well.
While sitting in the armored car, Rita, a resident of Mirnograd, explains that up till now she has refused evacuation. However, the daily shelling, especially today, was the last straw.
Tonight was relatively normal, but at 6 in the morning it all began. We didn't understand what was happening.
Residents of Mirnograd are being taken to a safer location where they will be transferred to a civilian bus. This bus will transport them from the Donetsk region to calmer areas of Ukraine.
We make trips almost every day to Mirnograd and the communities of Grodovsk and Pokrovsk. As you can see, this is happening under the constant threat of enemy artillery. FPV drones are attacking us. But today, as you can see, everything was okay.
Local police officers conduct these evacuations regularly, often under shelling and drone attacks. Yet they continue to save hundreds of civilians. Currently, Russia carries out more than 2,000 artillery strikes on cities in the Donetsk region of Ukraine each day.
That's all for today. Thank you for watching Eastern Europe Review. We will be back next week with our new reports. I'm Alexandra Shapalina. Keep watching TVP World and see you next time.